No one ever warns you about this. The greatest turning points in life rarely arrive with fireworks. They don't roar in like storms. Instead, they slip in quietly, disguised as unease, stillness, or a feeling that the skin of your current life has grown too tight. One morning, you look at your world and sense you've outgrown it. The job, the routine, even the identity you've carried. None of it feels wrong, only outdated, like echoes of a frequency that no longer resonates with who you've become. And in that silence, a subtle whisper arises within. It's time to leap, not with your body, not even in symbolism, but on a quantum level. For most, this idea of a quantum leap sounds like poetic metaphor, a fancy phrase for think positive or imagine better. But what if it's not metaphorical at all? What if it's an actual process encoded in the fabric of reality? In the language of quantum physics, electrons don't move step by step from one orbit to another. They vanish from one state and appear in another instantly. Scientists call this a discontinuous transition. No staircase, no bridge, just an immediate relocation of energy. And if you are, at your core, a vibrational being entangled with countless timelines, why would you not move in the same way? That sudden urge to let go, to walk away, to break free, it may not be random restlessness. It could be your energetic field aligning itself for a jump, preparing to dissolve one version of reality and manifest another. But here's the paradox. Most people never follow the call. They hesitate. They drown in logic, trying to measure the cost of change, while their soul has already leapt ahead. The chaos of transformation isn't the leap itself. It's the friction of resisting it. The mind scrambles to hold on, while the deeper self has already crossed over. Quantum jumps don't obey logic. They don't need your step-by-step plan. What they demand is coherence, your inner frequency vibrating louder than your fear. The moment your decision becomes purer than your doubt, the field responds instantly. That is when the leap locks in. And if you're honest, you've felt it before. That strange lightness when you walked away from a relationship that no longer carried your truth. The way the air seemed sharper, almost new, when you finally quit the job that drained your spirit. The quiet freedom that arrived the moment you stopped defending yourself to people who never really heard you. At first, it looked like endings, but in truth, those were leaps. Not steps on a staircase, not gradual improvements, but full shifts in vibration. See, reality doesn't always reveal the leap right away. You may not see proof in your bank account, your calendar, or your mirror, but the field, the invisible web of energy that holds every possibility, is already reorganizing itself around the new coordinates of your being. The choice itself is the ignition. Not wishing, not hoping, choosing. That's when the field begins to bend. Yet here's where most people stumble. They panic when the outside world doesn't immediately reflect the change. They doubt, retreat, and collapse back into the very timeline they were trying to leave. They think they failed. But quantum jumping was never about belief. It's not about convincing yourself. It's about transmission. The universe doesn't respond to words or even faith. It responds to the signal you broadcast. The moment you stop sending out the vibration of who you used to be, the leap begins to lock in. That's why you're here right now. Because what we're exploring isn't just spiritual language. It's a process rooted in both physics and psychology. It's about precision. It's about learning to engage your field deliberately, instead of waiting for chaos, heartbreak, or crisis to push you into change. The moment you realize you can select your reality instead of merely reacting to it, you reclaim the architect's seat. And I'll tell you this. If you feel a shift in your body already, an unease, a tingling, a quiet awareness, it's not coincidence. You may already be in mid-jump. The first rule of leaping is the hardest. You cannot hold on. A quantum leap isn't about clutching for something new. It's about dissolving the version of you that was too small to contain it. That means releasing what no longer vibrates at your frequency. Old habits, stale identities, expired narratives. Here's the paradox. The field can't tune to two signals at once. It doesn't reward volume. It responds to clarity. The sharper your frequency, the faster the field aligns. In quantum theory, infinite realities exist side by side, waiting for observation. You don't create your new life. You tune into the one that already exists. The shift isn't in doing more, visualizing harder, or chasing longer. It's in collapsing the signal of the self that lives in lack and embodying the self that already has. And neuroscience agrees. Identity isn't just a story. It's a network of neural pathways firing in familiar loops. Each morning you replay your anxieties, your regrets, your problems. You're not remembering. You're rehearsing, reinforcing, rebroadcasting the same identity, which tells the field, give me more of this. But what happens when you disrupt the loop? When you wake up and ask, how would the future version of me move today? And then, without waiting for proof, you live from that place. That isn't pretending. That isn't wishful thinking. That is alignment. Because every future is a frequency. Every identity is a code, and you don't climb to it. You don't earn it. You tune to it. Every leap begins with one hidden requirement: emotional alignment. You can chant affirmations of wealth 1,000 times, but if your body is still vibrating with scarcity, the universe tunes to the scarcity. You can picture success in your mind, but if guilt or shame lingers in your heart, the field echoes the guilt back. That isn't punishment, it's precision. The universe isn't testing you, it's mirroring you. So here's the question you must ask yourself. What emotions am I still practicing that belong to the version of me I've already outgrown? Fear, people-pleasing, hiding your truth? These aren't just habits. They're broadcasts, vibrational signatures that keep you bound to the reality you claim to want to escape. To collapse an identity is to stop rehearsing it. Not over weeks, not through rituals or calendars. In a single moment of radical honesty, you can face the self that clings to old narratives and say, I see you, I love you, but I no longer choose you. That's the fracture. That's the quantum split. And that's what the field responds to. Not perfection, not enthusiasm, coherence. When your thoughts, emotions, actions, and beliefs all strike the same frequency, even for a flicker, the field locks onto it. And then something unexpected unfolds. The pressure to prove fades. The hunger to force outcomes dissolves. You stop chasing because there's nothing to chase. What's left is clarity, neutrality. But neutrality is not emptiness. It is power. It is the unmistakable signal that the old identity has finally gone offline. This is why deep transformation often feels quiet, even boring. Without the drama of doubt, without the tug-of-war of duality, there is only presence. And presence, unshaken and still, bends reality faster than effort ever could. But here lies the razor's edge. Can you hold the frequency without blinking? Can you stand firm when your outer world hasn't yet caught up? This is the difference between a quantum jumper and a quantum dreamer. The jumper stays in the signal until the mirror reflects it. The dreamer scans for proof, doesn't see it fast enough, and collapses back into the very self they were trying to leave behind. But that won't be you. By the end of this journey, you'll understand not just how to leap, but how to stay leapt. How to anchor the broadcast so strongly that no evidence, no delay, no old story can pull you back. Because here's the truth. This isn't about mysticism. It's about memory. You're not trying to invent a new self. You are remembering the self that already exists in the timeline you've been reaching for. Quantum jumping isn't a one-time lightning strike. It's a practice, a vibrational posture, a daily ritual of dissolving the illusion that you are fixed, small, or late. And now, we're going to step into the heart of it. Not vague theory, a framework, a sequence. 5 energetic shifts, not steps, but stances, that tune your frequency to the version of you that is already alive, already waiting in another reality. Together, we'll call this process the broadcast shift. The first shift: redefine discomfort. When the fear creeps back in, when self-doubt whispers, when delay tightens its grip, don't see it as failure. See it as the static before a new station locks in. That interference you feel is not a warning to stop. It's proof you're brushing against a higher frequency. Most people misinterpret that static as a no. In truth, it's the field saying, hold steady, you're tuning. The second shift: break the loop. The old emotions always try to pull you down the same trail, the worn pathways of your past identity. This is where you strike. You don't argue with the thought. You don't drown in the feeling. You interrupt the broadcast. Change your breath. Shift your body. Speak something different out loud. Even science agrees. Neuroscience shows that interrupting a pattern breaks the chain of old neural wiring, creating a split second of freedom where a new choice can be born. The third shift: embody the future. Ask yourself, if it were already mine, if I was already living it, how would I feel? And then let your body answer. Let the feeling flood your chest, your breath, your nervous system. Not pretending, not wishing, being. For 90 seconds, 3 minutes, however long it takes until your entire field hums with the signal of that reality. The universe doesn't measure your vision board. It measures your vibration. The fourth shift: act in alignment. A quantum leap isn't about sitting still and waiting for reality to rearrange itself. It's about becoming evidence for your own broadcast. One action, however small, from the identity of your future self. It might be a boundary you finally hold, a message you finally send, a thought you choose on purpose. That single move entangles your field with the timeline you're calling in, and the universe, like a mirror with no delay, begins to answer. The fifth shift: detach from time. This is where most falter. They feel the leap, they radiate the signal, and then they look around, desperate for proof. The moment you scan the 3D world for results, you've slipped back into lack. Real jumping means staying in the frequency even when nothing changes yet, especially then. Because that's the final test. The field isn't asking you to wait. It's asking you to hold. To trust is not about convincing the universe. It's about proving to yourself that you are no longer the one who doubts. So let's bring this into your body. Tomorrow morning, before the world intrudes, sit up in silence. Don't touch your phone. Don't reach for the noise. Ask yourself one question: which version of me will I broadcast today? Then breathe, not with your mind, but with your posture, your energy. Let the answer rise in sensation, not in words. Maybe it feels steady. Maybe it feels fearless. Maybe it feels spacious, free, or deeply calm. Whatever it is, hold it. For 2 minutes, let your nervous system bathe in that frequency. Then carry it into your day as if nothing else exists but that version of you. Walk from it, speak from it, react from it, and watch how the world bends. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped echoing the old signal. You're no longer a receiver scanning for signs. You've become a transmitter, and transmitters don't chase proof. They generate it until the field has no choice but to align. But here's where most collapse the jump. They think the broadcast failed when silence arrives. They mistake the absence of immediate evidence as a verdict, when it's only recalibration. This is the hidden sabotage, energetic interference born of doubt. Every time you ask, "Is it working?" you've already pulled yourself back into the orbit of the old self. Quantum physics gives us the metaphor, the observer effect. The act of measuring a particle changes its behavior. The same law applies here. The act of measuring your progress with doubt alters the frequency you're holding. It's not about being positive 24/7. It's about refusing to interrupt the new signal with the old identity's fear. Because here's what really happens. You declare a new self. You feel it. You embody it. The field begins to organize around you. And then, stillness. No proof. No confirmation. Your programming rises. Maybe I made it up. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I did it wrong. But the collapse doesn't come from reality. It comes from you stopping the transmission. The field only mirrors what you sustain. This is why emotional mastery is everything. Not suppression, mastery. When doubt rises, you don't fight it, you name it. When impatience stirs, you don't obey it, you observe it. When you catch yourself scanning for signs, you pause and return to signal. Because emotions are frequencies and the field is mechanical, not moral. It doesn't punish fear, it reflects it. So the true question isn't, how do I stop feeling doubt? It's, which feeling will I choose to embody even when doubt shows up? That's how you anchor the jump. You practice the new frequency until it rewires your nervous system, until it becomes your default. And here's the paradox. The less you hunt for the outcome, the faster it arrives. Why? Because hunting is separation. Separation is lack. And lack whispers to the field, "This is not mine." So when you say, "I'll believe it when I see it," you've already fallen behind. But when you declare, "I believe it, and that's why I'll see it," you've already crossed. That's the essence of anchoring the jump, choosing yourself without proof, standing in your new identity even when the mirror of the world hasn't yet caught up, refusing to wait for permission to be who you already are. And this is where I want you to make your claim. Not tomorrow, not later. Now whisper it if you must, or write it somewhere only you will see. I choose myself, not for me, not for anyone watching, for the coherence of your own field. That single declaration, a micro-broadcast of certainty, is the seed the universe is waiting to amplify. Because the truth is, it was never about perfection. It was never about constant action. It has always been about alignment. Alignment says, I'm not becoming. I already am. This is how timelines stabilize. Not through force, but through repeated signals. The faster you return to the vibration, no matter what life throws at you, the faster reality begins to bend. So what happens when the field finally starts to respond? Not the moment of visualization, not the moment of decision, but the moment when your broadcast becomes so consistent, so undeniable, that the quantum field begins its rearrangement. First comes the silence, then the chaos, then the dismantling. No one tells you this part. The new frequency doesn't just magnetize, it also repels. It pushes away everything that no longer belongs. And that feels, at first, like loss, like confusion, like life collapsing at the exact moment you committed to a higher path. But it isn't collapse. It's cleansing. Think of it as this. For years, you were tuned to one station, and every person, habit, and circumstance in your life was tuned there with you. But now you've shifted the dial. You're broadcasting something your old world cannot decode. So naturally, conversations falter. Opportunities evaporate. Familiar rooms feel empty. You haven't gone backward. You've gone off frequency. In physics, we'd call it resonance correction. In spirit, it feels like isolation. But what it truly is proof. The field is recalibrating, unhooking you from what can't follow. It's not rejection, it's refinement. And yes, it can feel lonely. You may even wonder if you made a mistake. But this very void between the old and the new, is sacred ground. It is the in-between, the chrysalis. Your only task here is to hold the signal. Do not apologize for your evolution. Do not soften your frequency to make others comfortable. Do not reach back for the comfort of a cage you've already outgrown. What most call tests from the universe are not tests at all. They are echoes, vibrations of your old frequency bouncing back one final time, asking, "Are you sure?" And you don't answer with words. You answer by staying, by embodying, by proving with your presence that you are already the one who jumped. You wake in the morning. The first breath you take is no longer the breath of the old self. It carries the rhythm of the new. You move in ways the former version of you would never have dared. You stop offering explanations to those who cannot see. You stop craving validation from those who never understood. You don't release the people. You release the self who depended on them. And then it happens. The shift. A message from a stranger whose words feel like destiny. An invitation that seems to appear out of nowhere. A synchronicity so precise it makes you laugh through your tears. These aren't accidents. They're confirmations. Evidence that your signal has stabilized. That your field has locked onto the frequency of a new life. Sometimes it comes quickly. Sometimes it takes days, weeks. But it always comes. Because reality is not random. It is rhythmic. And when your nervous system learns to hum with the rhythm of your next level, your timeline tunes itself to you like an instrument aligning to pitch. So don't fear the silence. Don't mistake the void for punishment. The clearing is not the collapse. It's the cleansing. The dismantling is not rejection. It's a vibrational detox. The field cannot hand you the new until your hands are empty of the old. And here lies the greatest secret. The most potent leaps are invisible. They are the quiet decisions made in the dark, with no audience, no applause, no proof. The vision board doesn't define them. The ritual doesn't capture them. What defines them is the moment you stop broadcasting lack and begin radiating certainty, even when no one is watching. Because the field is always watching, not as a judge, but as a mirror. An infinite intelligence responding to coherence, reflecting nothing but the frequency you sustain. And the highest frequency you can hold is certainty. Not certainty in outcomes, but certainty in self. When you say to life, "This is who I am, with or without evidence," reality has no choice but to catch up. That's when the shift lands. That's when the new timeline solidifies. Not because you chased it, but because you matched it. From that point on, reality is no longer an obstacle. It's a reflection. an echo of the self you've already become, now made visible. So don't scan for results. Scan for resonance. Don't ask, is it working? Ask instead, am I broadcasting my future or rehearsing my past? That single question cuts through illusions, collapses old timelines, and anchors you into the frequency of who you already are. And when it happens, when the leap finally unfolds, it won't arrive with thunder. It won't be dramatic. It will be subtle, graceful, inevitable. The right person calling at the perfect moment. The idea that drops into your awareness like a seed from nowhere. The opportunity that makes no logical sense, but every energetic sense. That is not luck. That is not chance. That is the field whispering. Message received. So if something in you stirred as you listened, if your body tingled, your chest expanded, your heart whispered yes, that wasn't the video. That was your field. That was coherence rising. That was your new timeline opening its door. And now, all that remains is for you to step through. So here's your next move, and it doesn't need to be dramatic. No grand gestures. Just one step from the frequency you're holding now. Maybe it's writing down the version of you that just came alive. Maybe it's releasing something that no longer resonates. Maybe it's as simple as sitting still, breathing as your future self for one more sacred minute. Whatever you choose, let it come from certainty, not from need, not from doubt, but from the quiet knowing that this is who you already are. And if you felt this broadcast stir something within you, I invite you to keep tuning in. Not just to follow, not just to subscribe, but to return here as a way of reinforcing your frequency. This isn't just another channel, it's a field, a transmission. Each time you step back into it, you're not simply watching, you're remembering. Rehearsing the future self until it becomes your only self. So if you're ready to stop waiting for evidence, ready to embody the truth you've always carried, then anchor it here. Subscribe. Stay connected. Keep choosing yourself again and again until the universe itself has no choice but to echo back, confirmed.